Hi everybody and welcome to Everyday Manna. Today we are going to be making a comfort meal. We're going to make chicken pot pie that is so easy to do and absolutely delicious. But we're going to kind of make a little bit of an easier version. Instead of making a homemade crust and rolling it out and all of that, we're going to top it with biscuits. So that's going to be delicious. We're also going to make some roasted cherry tomatoes to go on the side of that, which is a great side dish for anything. And then we're going to have dessert. Now we're going to make pumpkin spiced cake, but I'm going to make it in the form of cupcakes. Now you can make it in a bundt pan. You can make it in 2 round cake layers, like 8 or 9 inch layers. I'm just going to do cupcakes because I find them easier. It's just so much more convenient to just grab a cupcake than to slice a piece of cake and all that. Although it's delicious in the cake form, you can do whichever you want. So to start this recipe, which is where we're going to start with dessert. You need 1 box of just a spice cake mix. Any kind you like will work. If you can't find the spice cake mix, which, sometimes we can't find things, you could use a yellow cake mix and then just increase the amount of spices that you put into the cake. Use some pumpkin pie spice or apple pie spice, or we're going to use some extra cinnamon and nutmeg. You could increase that. But if you can, find the spice cake mix. So I have 1 box of that in here. I also have 4 ounces of cream cheese, which is half a block. We're going to add some extra cinnamon. We're also going to add some nutmeg. And the nutmeg is one of those things that I truly do think you need fresh. You need to grate it yourself, just a microplane, about 1/4 of a teaspoon to 1/2 of a teaspoon. This is a spice that, oh golly, smells so good. You use so little of it that if you buy a container of it, it's probably going to lose its potency before you can use it all up. Whereas the whole little nutmeg lasts forever. And by the way, if you didn't know this, if you've heard of the cooking ingredient, the baking ingredient most of the time, mace. Mace is the outer coating of a nutmeg. So you get 2 spices from 1 ingredient. So we'll put that there. I'm dealing with allergies, forgive me. We've got 1/4 of a cup or so of just vegetable oil or canola oil, and 1 cup of canned pumpkin, one of my favorite ingredients. Make sure when you buy your pumpkin that you're not buying pumpkin pie filling. They are side by side, and if you grab the wrong one, it's not going to be the same. You want the can that is 100% pure pumpkin. I also have a couple of eggs that I'm going to beat. This is a handy little whisk. You just put it in there and kind of plunge it up and down. Get them on Amazon. They really do a great job of whisking anything. Perfect little whisk. And then I like to beat my eggs just a little bit before I put them in the bowl. Then let's set this all aside, put it in the sink. And then just use a hand mixer or a stand mixer if you have it. And you're gonna, well, first of all, make sure your little thingies are in there and make sure you don't have that on. I cannot tell you the times that I've had it plugged in and accidentally hit the little on button as I'm putting in there and your fingers get all mangled in there. Be careful with that. Just mix that all together in a bowl. Oh, I forgot my water. However much water that your box cake mix calls for, mine needs, let me just grab a little cup here because I don't have a measuring cup. Mine needs about 1/4 of a cup to 1/2 a cup. So we'll start with whatever your cake mix calls for. They're all different, every brand. Scrape down the sides as you're mixing. Now, this makes a great bundt cake. It also makes a great little, if you have those little individual small baking pans, like for gifts or small loaves of banana bread or whatever you're doing, you could make it in that. I am going to add just a touch more water. Okay, this is a very versatile batter. You do whatever you need to do, however you want to bake it. Take those out. And I have a muffin tin lined with 12 muffin liners. I like to use these, even though this is a non-stick baking pan. I prefer to put the cupcake liners in there. And then I like to use an ice cream scoop. I just find it a little easier. This will make 24 cupcakes, but I'm only going to do 12 right now. We'll make some more later. Fill your muffin tins about 3/4 of the way full. Or, you know, if you're doing a bundt pan, spray it, or any kind of a cake pan or whatever. Spray it with some nonstick cooking spray, or butter it and then flour it if you want to do it that way. I really like that baking spray that has the flour in it. That does a great job of making your cupcakes or cakes or whatever you're making come out. I love that stuff. Are you all dealing with allergies? I don't think mine has let up all year long. Fall is typically the worst time for me, but we'll get through it. So if I clear my throat a lot, just overlook me. Not one of those things I can help. Oh, if you could just smell this. Oh my goodness. Pumpkin anything is just, oh, so good. And this time of year especially, you know, you've got pumpkin spice coffees, pumpkin pie, pumpkin cake, pumpkin scones, pumpkin everything. And I'm here for it. I love pumpkin anything except coffee. I am one of those purists with coffee. I like coffee. I don't want any flavored creamers. I don't want any of that. But I'll take pumpkin anything else. My favorite pie is pumpkin pie. So this is going to go, and anytime you're baking something, by the way, I like to just tap it on my pan or on my counter a couple of times. I sort of got a little chintzy with that one to kind of let that settle and bring any air bubbles to the top. We're going to pop this in a 350-degree oven for about 15 minutes or so, or until a toothpick inserted in the center comes out clean. If you're baking this in a bundt pan, which is normally how I do this, it takes about 40 to 45 minutes or until a toothpick comes out clean. If you're baking it in, you know, like a 9 or 8 or 9 inch cake pan, about 25-ish minutes or until a toothpick comes out clean. So I'm going to pop this in the oven, clean up, set this aside, and I'll make the other 12 cupcakes in just a little bit. And when I come back, we're going to get started on our pot pie. So I'll be back in just a minute. Alrighty, now welcome back. We're going to get started on our chicken pot pie. And I have in my pan about 3 tablespoons or so of butter. And I'm going to saute some onion. Now this onion is huge, so I don't need all of this onion. About, you know, 1 medium-sized onion is plenty. This one is way too big, so we'll just use half of it. Save the other half for something else. Onion is one of those ingredients that a lot of recipes used, so it won't go to waste. We're going to dice it kind of fine. Need to get it in my butter. Okay, this is a strong onion. I used to wear contacts, and I could chop onions all day long, and they didn't bother me, but now they do. All righty, let's get this in before our butter. We got brown butter, which is flavor. Turn that down just a little bit. Okay, well, I'm on you. Add the rest of our onion. Now, I have here some chicken that I poached. This is a great use for leftover chicken. If you have leftover chicken, let me move this out of my way before I kill myself. Rotisserie chicken is great in this recipe. Whatever you need. I have here some stock that I'm heating up. I used some of it, I used the stock to poach my chicken. Then I added a couple of bouillon cubes because some of my poaching liquid evaporated. So we're just going to make a little more chicken broth, and my eyes are starting to water. Woo! That is a strong onion. Let's get that out of my way. Put that right there for a minute. Oh my goodness. Try not to let my eyes water. While that onion is sauteing, I have my chicken here that I took out of the broth, and it is very hot, so let me get it out here. It's cooked, so I can do it on my board. I'm going to cut this up, shred it up. If you don't have chicken already cooked, oh goodness, you can just do what I did and poach your chicken and then shred it or cut it up, however you want to do it. I want that to cool down just a little bit. So let's make our roux. Once your onions are kind of sauteed, they're starting to get translucent. This recipe comes together very quickly. I'm going to add some thyme, just some dried thyme, some salt and pepper. I'm going to stir all that together because I like to bloom the spices in the fat before I put any water or liquid of any kind in there. Then I'm going to sprinkle into that pan some flour, because remember, we've got that butter in there. You want equal parts butter or fat, whatever you're using, and flour. And you want to whisk that around until all of that flour gets absorbed by the fat that's in your pan, which in my case is butter. Oh my goodness, my eyes are still watering. Okay, once that, you see how dry that looks? That's exactly what you want. Okay? Then we're going to add a little bit of milk. This is just 2% milk. You could use half and half. You could use heavy cream. And we want to slowly add your liquid. If you add it all at once, you're going to get lumps. But if you add it slowly, you won't. So there's my milk. Now we're going to add the broth, some chicken broth. This is just the liquid that I poached the chicken in. I'm going to add it a couple of ladlefuls at a time. Whisk it in. And let it come back up to a simmer. You don't want this to be too thin, but you don't want it to be too thick. You want it Goldilocks style. You want it just right. And now I think we're good to go. We can add the remaining chicken broth. The chicken being poached in here just added some extra flavor in there. Delicious. Okay, let's let that come up to a simmer. We're going to add I'm just using frozen mixed vegetables. You use what you have on hand. I'll just have one bag of frozen mixed vegetables that I'm going to add to that. Let that come up to a simmer. Stir that in. Okay. And then we'll go back over here to our chicken. Now, in the oven, I have a bag of frozen biscuits. I like the Southern style biscuits for this. I just have those in there baking. Just open the bag, put them on a sheet, put them in the oven. If you want to use the canned biscuits, you can. That's totally up to you. Let's chop up our chicken. You can use chicken thighs, you can use chicken breasts, use whatever kind of chicken you like. Whatever, if you like the dark meat or the white meat, whatever you want. You don't want it to be too finely shredded up. You want to know that you're eating chicken pot pie. This is a great recipe too if you have canned chicken, whether you've bought it or your home canned chicken that you might have sitting on your pantry shelf. This is a great use for that. It's still a little warm, but I just poached some. By poaching, if you don't know how to poach, you basically put the chicken into some broth, bring it up to a gentle simmer, and these are boneless, skinless chicken breasts, so they didn't take very long. 15 minutes and you've got delicious poached chicken. If you don't want to poach it, you can roast it in the oven and use that. But it's also, again, a great use for leftover chicken. If you have a rotisserie chicken or, you know, you've roasted it yourself, roast chicken. This also, you can substitute turkey. Maybe, you know, at Thanksgiving, you've got all that turkey left over. This is a great recipe. Just substitute turkey for the chicken. Do that all the time. You could also, you can use any kind of protein. I've made this with beef. This is great with leftover roast beef. Just swap out the chicken broth for beef broth. Swap the chicken for beef. Same recipe, just a different protein. I mean, it's really, truly up to you. I love pot pie. And I grew up, you know, eating those frozen ones like so many of us did. And, you know, they tasted good, but until you have homemade. Once you have the homemade pot pie, that's what you're going to want. So we're going to want to put that chicken into our mixture, stir it all together, and let it simmer for just a few minutes. Okay, it's going to thicken up a little bit more, and we will top it to eat with our biscuits. I'm going to take a quick break. I'm going to clean up, and when I come back, we will check on the pot pie, the cupcakes, and we're going to make some roasted tomatoes. I'll be back in just a minute. Alrighty, now our cupcakes are baking, our biscuits are baking, our pot pie is just simmering away over here. I turned it down to a low simmer because I just want that to stay warm basically until the biscuits are done. I have here just 1 pint of cherry tomatoes. I love these things roasted. Now, I'm not a fan of raw tomatoes at all. Let me grab my oil. But when you roast them, oh, they just take on a different flavor altogether. I have here some olive oil, a couple of tablespoons. You can use canola or vegetable if that's what you have. If you have olive oil, in this recipe I would suggest it, but you know, if you don't, you don't. It's okay. I'm gonna add a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. This is so easy to put together. A little bit of probably my favorite herb, and that's dried rosemary. Now, dried rosemary is strong. Don't put too much, but you want to taste that rosemary. Okay. And then because tomatoes can be just a teeny bit acidic, I like to add a little bit of sugar, not a whole lot, just a little bit. And then I have here 1 lemon that I'm going to zest. I'm just going to zest it. I've washed my lemon. I'm just going to, got my rasp upside down. I'm going to zest the outside of my lemon, just straight onto the tomatoes. Lemon just really bumps up the flavor of about anything you put it in. I love lemon on most things. My oldest son, Austin, is like me. He likes lemon in a lot of different things. So for our home, lemons are a staple. Remember, we always like to roll the citrus on your cutting board before you zest it. I like to take the pointy end off a little bit. I think you get a little more juice. Cut side down in your juicer, and then squeeze the juice of 1 lemon in your pan. If you don't have lemon, what you can do is roast it, and then about 5 minutes before it's done, take a little bit of vinegar. I like sherry vinegar if you have that, or apple cider vinegar, and put it on there and let it go, the last 5 minutes with the vinegar. But the lemon I put in the beginning. And that's it. You're just going to pop this in a 400, 425, whatever you have, available, and roast them for 20 minutes-ish. It depends on the size of your tomatoes. Some grape tomatoes are big and some are small like these. These will probably take 15 or 20 minutes. You want them to burst open, and they might even take on a little bit of charring. They're delicious. So we'll pop these in the oven and check on this stuff, and when I come back, we're going to put this meal together. Alrighty, now our cupcakes are done, and all I did was take about a cup of semi-sweet chocolate chips, 4 tablespoons or so of milk, and I did add a tablespoon of instant coffee. If you don't have instant coffee, you don't have to worry about that, but coffee brings out the flavors of chocolate. It doesn't taste like coffee. It just makes chocolate taste more chocolatey. It's wonderful. Try it. And I just melted that in the microwave for about 60 seconds. Stir it every 30 seconds until it's smooth, just like that. Easy way to make a dressing. I mean, not a dressing, but a frosting. And I am a person who doesn't like a lot of sweet frosting on mine. So I literally am just going to put some on the top. I just do not like a lot of sweet frosting on my cake or my cupcakes for that matter. So you can either dip them in here or just take a spoon like I'm doing and put some on top. Of course, you could use chocolate frosting if that's what you want. You could use a cream cheese frosting. You could do whatever you want. If you wanted to decorate these with some white chocolate, that'd be real pretty. You could do that. I mean, really, you could put some sprinkles on there, whatever you want to do. Up to you. And I just have these cute little cupcake stands that I just think are cute. You don't, I mean, obviously this is for my purposes, but you do what you like. I like the little stands. Now, everything's done, so let's plate it up. I'll show you how to do the pot pie. These are the tomatoes. Remember I said they would just burst open, and you might get a few little charred toppings like that. Oh, that just means they're good. I love these things. I could eat every one of those. And then for your pot pie, you just need to stir it all together. See how nice and thick that is? Delicious. Put some on your plate. And then top it with just some biscuits. These were just frozen, the Grands, which is what I like. And there you go. You've got a delicious, quick and easy chicken pot pie that is so simple to make, but absolutely delicious. If you wanted to substitute leftover beef roast for the pot pie, you could do that. You could do turkey. It's a great use for leftover Thanksgiving turkey or whenever you cook turkey. It doesn't have to be Thanksgiving, by the way, to cook a turkey. What I like to do is when I catch them on sale at Thanksgiving, I buy a few, couple, 2, 3, because you can really, or you used to could get them very inexpensive, and pop them in your freezer, and then you've got turkey for the rest of the year. But this is a delicious, delicious, nutritious, healthy meal that you can make any day of the week. Serve it with, I just chose some roasted tomatoes, but you could do it with roasted potatoes if you wanted to, or, really and truly that's a meal on its own. You've got your vegetables, you've got your meat, you've got your bread, you've got a gravy. You don't need to have a side dish to that. You could do a salad if that's what you wanted. And our wonderful little pumpkin spice cupcakes. Now, if you wanted to make that into a bigger cake, do it in a bundt pan, let it bake about probably 45 to 50-ish minutes, depending on your oven, until a toothpick comes out clean. Very, very easy. I made a ganache with just milk chocolate, or not milk chocolate, semi-sweet chocolate, a little bit of instant coffee, and some milk or heavy cream if that's what you've got, melted it in the microwave. That makes a very quick and easy frosting or glaze for any kind of a baked good, and it's so delicious. If you wanted to do the same thing maybe with a little bit of white chocolate and drizzle that over, you could do that, or sprinkle on some decorations of some sort. Great job for your kids. If you've got kids, they love to put sprinkles on things, whatever you wanted to do. Or just, if it's that time of year and you can find the little canned candy corn, that'd be cute on top, or one of the little pumpkins, whatever you like. But there you go, delicious and easy. Try these recipes, let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time on Everyday Manna.